Hello everyone, welcome to this video for Pearson 2.0 GCSE English Language. We're going to be looking at paper 1 question 5, which is an evaluation question using the Ragged School extract. In terms of the question strategy for this, you must write 3 points. There's no need to analyse language or structure, so you're not talking about similes, adjectives, adverbs, etc. For my students, I use the traditional point, example, explanation approach. But whatever approach your teacher teaches you to do this question, you're going to need to embed your quotes, carefully and judiciously selecting evidence from the text, and a highlighter is always useful for that. And importantly, you need to be able to show evidence that you can interpret information. So using the quotes that you have selected, what does the evidence mean to you? What does it suggest to you? And what do you interpret from the evidence? And you need to do that in each of your 3 points. This is 6 marks, and therefore you're spending approximately 10 minutes on it. The question looks like this on the page. It will have a box where all of your answers are located. So in that box, you need to pick 3 bits of evidence that coincide with the question. And for me, the most important information on this whole page is the task underneath the box, which is telling you what evidence you're looking for, the topic of the evidence. So it says in the extract, the writer tries to show that the superintendent is a caring teacher. So that is what you're looking for, evidence that suggests that this teacher figure, the superintendent, is a caring teacher. So you need to find 3 bits of evidence to prove that that is true. So to give you some context, what is a ragged school first? So this is simply from Wikipedia, but it says that ragged schools really were charities that were set up in the 19th century, so in Victorian times, for the education, the free education of destitute children. So they were located often in working class districts, and their pupils tended to be in a great deal of poverty or what we might now call social deprivation. It was argued at the time, and perhaps still is, that these youngsters were excluded from any kind of mainstream education, such as Sunday school, because of the way they looked and because they often had very poor behaviour. So that is what a ragged school was. It was designed to give people a future, give children a future, and not exclude them because of their class or their family's lack of wealth. So going back to the extract, we need to find 3 bits of evidence in this extract that proves that the superintendent is a caring teacher. So I'm going to read it and then I'm going to pause the video and you can find your 3 bits of evidence. I cannot proceed with this account of my visit to the George Yard Ragged School and Church without expressing my warm admiration of the superintendent, who's a bit like a head teacher, let's say. The love he shows to the unfortunate children committed to his care is great, and they appear to love him equally. In fact, in the course of our conversation, he told me that in love for the children consisted his strength and the means whereby he works. In fact, sir, said he, we take a boy, wild and entirely uncultivated, as it were, from the gutters, now that the boy will not bear the restraint of the school, unless we speedily teach him that we love him, take an affectionate interest in his welfare, and that it is for his own benefit to remain. So you can really get the sense here, I think, of these relatively challenging children, badly behaved maybe, coming into this school, and the teachers really trying very, very hard to turn these people's lives around and to give them some hope of some kind of decent future and decent education. So I'm going to pause the video now. You can find 3 bits of evidence that prove that the superintendent is a caring teacher. Remember, short quotes are best. And then we can go through the answers, or if not, you can continue watching and we'll discuss the evidence that you might select. So we've got 3 bits of evidence here for 3 points. And you can see that I've tried to keep the quotes as short as I possibly can. Remember, we don't want to be wasting time copying long quotes out from the extract. You get no marks for copying. So it's short quotes and using the quotes to reinforce, I suppose, your own interpretations. So warm admiration, the love that seems to exist between students and teacher, and also the interest taken by the superintendent into this student's welfare. So again, now that we've located the evidence, you can pause the video and try and work out what this evidence suggests to you, or you can continue watching and we can go through possible inferences. So, warm admiration. So, the writer immediately has a good impression of the superintendent. He's welcoming, he's friendly to the children. He's not, for example, hitting the children. He's not using any kind of corporal punishment. He's impressed by what he sees, and more specifically, his view of the superintendent. Then he talks about the love and the word equally. So the children seem to benefit from his teaching and employment in the school. There's a mutual respect here between all ages, and that's obviously very pleasing for the writer to see. And the final inference could be again to do with the superintendent's affection. He is using positive reinforcement, as we might say, and praise and love to make the children behave better rather than being punitive or simply interested in punishment. So he's hoping that being very, very positive with these children will break down their bad behaviour. He's showing the children that they belong, and he's also taken a keen interest in their welfare, meaning that he's interested in them. He's not seeing them as some kind of enemy. So he's presented here as quite a kind man. So before we go back to what a possible good answer could look like, let's just think about P's. So 3P paragraphs, point, evidence, explanation, of course. Make sure your evidence is short and snappy, not long quotes, please. That your explanation might start with the sentence stems. This suggests that, this implies that, suggesting, meaning you after that give your own personal insight in your own words as to what you are working out about this evidence, about this school and this superintendent figure. And your point is just summarising, almost like a topic sentence, what your point is going to be about. So, in terms of what a good answer might look like, it might be something like this. So, I've put the quotes in blue and the beginning of the inference in bold, using those sentence stems as you can see here. The superintendent is shown as a caring teacher because of his behaviour and personalities. That's the point. The writer mentions his warm admiration, which suggests that the writer immediately has a good impression of the superintendent, who is welcoming and friendly to visitors and children alike. Secondly, the caring nature of the superintendent is shown when the writer says the children love him equally, which implies that the children benefit from his teaching and employment in the school, and that there is a mutual respect between him and the children. And the final point, lastly, the superintendent is caring because he overcomes difficult pupils by speedily teaching them that they are loved and by taking an interest in the pupils' welfare, suggesting the superintendent uses his affection for the children to break down any discipline issues and show the children that they belong. He takes an interest in their welfare, safety, and is always kind, even when with challenging students. So even though these children might be slightly rough around the edges, let's say, he still is showing them, according to the writer at least, this kind of constant sense of kindness. So that is what a good answer might or could look like. So that is an example of the paper 1 question 5 evaluation question for Pearson 2.0. Thanks for watching.